It is the Citi newsroom. I'm currently at the premises of the National Media Commission. I've come here because Citi FM and Citi TV today submitted its petition to the National Media Commission in the case involving the assault of one of our journalists, Caleb Kudah, and the subsequent invasion of our premises by the National Security Operatives to arrest another colleague of ours, Zoe Abu Beidu.
Based on our little understanding of the Constitution and the important role the National Media Commission plays, we feel that the first port of call should be the agency and the institution that is supposed to be in charge of our welfare. So you are our regulator, and so if you go to school and you have a problem, you report to the head teacher, and then you tell your parents as well. So our mission here is to officially notify you of what happened by way of a complaint, which we have put together in the form of a petition with some attached materials. So that's why we are here.
We are pursuing this under the mechanism for the safety of journalists, and so we are not strictly proceeding on this according to a normal complaint. And so the timelines on this we expect to be slightly modified. Our expectation is that this will be made available to the party against whom you are complaining, and we promise to do that today. We hope that in the interest of fairness, we would hope that they would be able to submit their response to the matter by next week, Monday. So give them 7 working days. Again, our expectation is that within that same week, depending on how things proceed, we should be able to meet for the hearing and possibly conclude this matter. So I can assure you that we are going to treat this with the seriousness that we can put to it. And it is our expectation that within 2 weeks upon those dates that you are submitting this, we should have closure on the matter.
It's still the Citi newsroom. I'm coming to you from the National Media Commission following our submission of our petition to the Commission on matters arising to the assault of Caleb Kudah, as well as the subsequent arrest of Zoe Abu Beidu Ado. I'm here with the Executive Secretary of the Commission, Mr. George Sapon. I'm going to pick his thoughts around a lot of developing things we've been seeing over the period. Now, issue of safety, there are a lot of discussions around. Of course, we don't want you to speak specifically to the issues, but for journalists who are concerned about their safety, drawing the line between investigating a piece and then reporting on something they've seen that they feel is of interest to the country, how do you think now, with all that we are seeing, should be their approach?
So the approach is exactly what I think would emerge after the resolution of this matter. If you were dealing specifically with the matter that you've brought before us, questions have been raised about whether or not the journalist involved was acting within his right as a journalist. Questions, so we need to look at the law and what it grants the journalist. Questions have come up about where he was and whether or not he had authority to be there. One needs to look at the status of that specific place and whether or not that place, either spatially or conceptually, is covered by any law or any set of rules, and the source or basis of those rules, and to check against whether they are consistent with the Constitution. So, for example, Article 164 subjects media freedom to laws that are reasonably required in the interest of national security. Questions have been raised about the ethics of the profession and whether or not what happened was consistent with media ethics. And then there is also the supposed acts of the alleged persons involved. Did the story happen the way it has been narrated? If it did not, what are the consequences for the claimant? If it did, where is the evidence for it? All these are critical matters. And then, if it is established that it happened, what is the identity of the persons involved in the matter? With what authority did they act? Was their action within that authority? Was it an individual action or it was a sanctioned action by the institution? What I have just said gives you an idea of the process of inquiry that all of us need to submit to in order to establish the truth.
What assurances can you give the public and then journalists on this matter in terms of ensuring that the right thing is done at the end of the day?
The first assurance I will give is that this is the first time in the history of this country that we have set up a mechanism to protect the safety of journalists. So that's a watershed moment. So that in itself should signal a change. So we are trying to create for ourselves a system, a process, and the resources that focus specifically on the safety of journalists. And somehow this is the very first matter that has come up since we announced this office. So I think that is the substantive change. And all of us need to see that.
Thank you very much, Mr. George Sapon. He's the Executive Secretary of the National Media Commission. Like he said, they have put in place a mechanism to ensure that the safety of journalists is made available to them. But why have we chosen to rope in the National Media Commission in this matter, and what are we hoping to gain from what we're doing? Let me bring in Selom Adonu. By day, he's the head of features and articles of Citi FM and Citi TV, but by night, he's a member of our legal team and also a legal practitioner for that matter. First of all, tell us a bit about this petition, then we'll look at why we've decided to come here and the matters arising.
So the petition is actually in two parts. The first part has to do with the abuse and the brutality suffered by Caleb Kudah and the violation of Zoe Abubedu's rights. We've detailed that. And the second part has to do with the Rambo-style raid on Citi FM, Citi TV on the same day. So we are asking the NMC to investigate the matter, find out what the truth is, and make recommendations as appropriate. So basically, that is what it is. Many have asked, why don't you use other means? Why the NMC? And we have said that the NMC has a constitutional mandate under the 1992 Constitution. In fact, the NMC is a creation of law. And so as a body that regulates what we do, we thought it necessary to bring them into the picture, first, so that we can see how things will proceed from there. The other side of the whole matter, that is the National Security Ministry, will also be asked to submit their side of the story. Then the parties will meet and see what can flow from there. So basically, yes, that's what we've been doing. We are happy about the process, and we have confidence that the mechanism as put forward or as organized by the National Media Commission is able to deal with this matter conclusively, especially now that they have some fresh impetus flowing from the fact that there's now what we call the Office of the Coordinated Mechanism for Safety of Journalists. This is actually a new office which was just commissioned this month, I think on the 4th of May or so. So this is actually their very first case, and this will serve as a test case for them.
But what is involved in this particular mechanism that recently they launched?